Hi, I'm YouTuber Cracked Rack, and I get asked very frequently, why do I waste my time talking about strange people who are complete imbeciles, perverts, or mentally ill? And I'll tell you why. There's nothing more interesting to me than an extremely eccentric individual who lives far outside the bounds of reality to support their fantasy world. People who overshare intense information about themselves, people who have disgusting dietary or health issues that are fully in their control, and people who do crazy things online are all extremely interesting to me. People like this are known as Lolcows. Lolcows are collected and discussed all over the internet. Sites like Kiwi Farms, Lolcow Farms, and Encyclopedia Dramatica are practically hotspots for this type of activity. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10. Low Tier God. This is a 37-year-old individual who goes by the name of Low Tier God online and in gaming circles. He's a man known for many controversies, but out of all the lolcows on this list, he's definitely the least severe. But I wanted to include him anyway because there's just something about this man that after all these years I find so insufferable. Low Tier God, to give a little backstory, is a man who started competing in Street Fighter tournaments in the early 2000s. Throughout his years playing and uploading his gameplays to YouTube, he created quite the villainous name for himself, and he's among one of the most hated esports players of all time. His most notable feature is his ability to get extremely furious at real people for beating him at video games. He's known to threaten people, scream in their faces, dox them, harass them online and stalk them, and even falsely strike their videos if they even remotely talk negatively about him. Strangely enough, he actually has a cult of followers, though it's extremely small. I'd say less than 100 people who actually genuinely want to go out of their way to defend him. Usually if you criticize Low Tier God in any way, shape, or form, his cult of idiot fans will flock to your page and say that you're just jealous of him because he's getting the bag and you're not. Even though in reality, it's discussed in most forums about him that Low Tier God struggles to make ends meet and he survives solely off e-begging on Twitch. Some of his supporters will even go out of their way to say that you apparently hate seeing an African-American male succeed, which is just absolute nonsense bogus. The reason we hate Low Tier God is his craptastic attitude, and that's coming from me. Number 9. Cooking with Jack. Cooking with Jack may be way less of an ass than the likes of LTG, but he still deserves to be moderately up on this list for his absurd cooking antics that betray God. See, I have a serious problem with people who abuse their own health really badly, and even after suffering horrible health problems, they continue to indulge in what made them sick, not caring about the people around them. That is the best way to describe Cooking with Jack. Now let me explain a little bit of who he is before I get into what makes him really vile. Cooking with Jack is a YouTube channel with over 400,000 subscribers that started all the way back in 2007. Jack quickly grew in popularity not because he's actually a good chef, but because he's an absolutely despicable chef with a giant ego and no willingness to take criticism. Some of his cooking mistakes include not cooking meat all the way so it's completely raw, putting thousands of calories worth of mayonnaise on literally everything including cake, and doing things in his cooking that would give anyone who ate it salmonella. Jack has suffered 2 strokes within a short period of time, and people genuinely believe he's about to suffer from his third, which could be his final stroke. Many are quick to point out that the extremely high-calorie contents of his dishes caused his clogged arteries, which isn't a hard case to make at all considering how disgusting his dishes are. I wish him the absolute best, and I hope he gets his health in order, but as it currently stands, Jack is a lolcow first and foremost. Number 8. Onision. I don't think I need to explain very much about this individual considering there is thousands of hours worth of very popular content on YouTube discussing his disgusting actions. Onision is a content creator that got started all the way back in 2005. His entire shtick was making really unfunny comedy skits that somehow garnered a ridiculous amount of attention. After Onision managed to get on shows like Tosh.0, his popularity skyrocketed and continued for many years. However, as time went on, Onision started creating channels that weren't centered around silly skits, but instead very serious videos discussing extremely inappropriate topics he had no expertise in whatsoever. People were quick to notice how narcissistic he was, and people very quickly grew to hate him. Now Onision relies solely on making people hate him on purpose for monetary gain, and he will go as far as to humiliate his entire family in front of millions of people just to make a quick buck. After further allegations came out, it was found that Onision groomed many of his extremely young child fans, and in his worst story, got a 17-year-old pregnant in his late 20s, then forced her to get an abortion through manipulation because he didn't want the child. Onision will go down in history as one of the worst YouTubers of all time. Number 7. Cyrax. Cyrax is a massively obscure lolcow who I actually just recently discovered. Cyrax, age 31, known as Chance in real life, is a man who caught the attention of the internet for his antics relating to his rapping. See, Chance wants to be a rapper really badly and seems to genuinely believe that he will be the next Eminem. Though when you look at his work, it's usually just a mobile phone recording of him mumbling or rolling around on the ground or something really stupid. Chance has a severe physical deformity that he was born with, which at first would make you want to feel bad for him. However, instead of growing as a person and realizing that appearance doesn't determine anything about a person, he instead pities himself and drowns in sorrow, trying to make everyone around him feel bad for him. And he's known to get thrown into rages over people making fun of him online. But that's also not really what makes him a lolcow. What makes him a lolcow is his extremely disturbing willingness to share horrifying pictures of himself doing disgusting things, including spreading his butthole on camera, jerking off on camera, and showcasing the disturbing amount of bedbug bites all over his body. The bedbug bites are so severe on some parts of his body, like his penis, that his skin is raised a few inches off his body. He's also been arrested for things like strangling his own grandma, and he's even been known to send inappropriate pictures to minors. Overall, a bad dude in a bad package. Though people definitely go way too far in trolling him, some even sending him rope in the mail if you get that implication. Number 6. Amberlynn Reed. Amberlynn Reed is a lolcow who really deserves to be seen as one. She's an overweight 29-year-old woman who has a YouTube channel dedicated to fitness and dieting. Though if you can believe it, all that really happens on this channel is she stuffs her face full of extremely fat-filled fried foods for hours at a time while crying. She's a YouTuber who actually started out quite humble and well-liked in the community, though she was found to make way too many promises about her weight and diet that she would break within a video of making the promises. For example, she'll say she's gonna go on this revolutionary diet that will make you lose massive amounts of weight. She'll talk about it a bunch, get super excited about it, then in the next video, and I mean the very next video, she'll make a bunch of stupid excuses, open a bucket of fried chicken, and go to town on the entire thing within minutes. She's also become quite narcissistic and unable to take any criticism whatsoever. She also broadcasts her personal life to the public, and people actually look forward to when she breaks up with her significant others because of the channel drama that ensues. I don't really have much to say about this woman because I don't like her and I'm not interested in her as a lolcow really, so I'm drawing a blank here on what to say. I just really don't like people that kill their own health, and then instead of accepting responsibility for it, blame everybody and everything else. Overall, Amberlynn is quite the lolcow, but unfortunately her health is getting so bad, I worry she may not be around much longer. She's only 29 years old, which is relatively young, and it would be a shame to see a person so young waste their life away. I've already made a video on her though, so I don't have much further comment to make on her. Number 5. Timbox. Again, I just covered this guy, so if you want an in-depth look at his insanity, go ahead and check out my other video titled Timbox, the New Chris Chan. Timbox is a very strange individual whose main point of interest for people is his striking similarities to Chris Chan. Timbox is known for blending copyrighted characters just like Chris does, though the difference is, Tim is extremely serious about getting rich off his ideas, even though they consist of things like this. He gets extremely rageful at literally anybody who even mildly criticizes him, which is what puts him so high on this list. His rage is absolutely toxic, and you cannot convince this 31-year-old individual to clean his act up whatsoever. He'll just threaten you. The worst part about him is that he's extremely obsessed with animated children and frequently jerks off to the subject and pictures of animated children. There's a ton of reasons why this guy is on the list, but I don't want to talk about him as I've already covered him and you can check that video out in the description. Number 4. Shadman. This guy is absolutely despicable in every single way, shape, and form. This person's own mother even disowned them for disgusting reasons I'll get into in a minute. Shadman is a 31-year-old pornographic artist who used to make thousands of bucks a month through Patreon because he drew animated porn of kids. This is something that a lot of people defend for some reason because it's just drawings, but I don't care. The implication, regardless of if it's a drawing, is exactly the same. If you can get aroused at an animated picture of a small child, I don't doubt you want to do that in real life, and I would absolutely never trust you around any minor whatsoever. Some of Shadman's antics include drawing porn of his own mother, causing her to disown him, drawing porn of Keemstar's like 11-year-old daughter doing very inappropriate things to Donald Trump. Okay, she gave him a blowjob. And he's such a coward, he even dodged the mandatory service all men must go through in Switzerland. So he was actually ejected from the country. I can't show this loser's face because YouTube's a cowardly company that refuses to let people take accountability for their actions, but you can easily find it if you search his name. That's all I'm going to say about this person because I can't stand talking about them. They're disgusting. They literally disgust me to my very core. Shadman absolutely deserves his spot at number 4. Number 3, Lucas Werner. This guy is a very, very unusual case because he actually does most of his disgusting, cringeworthy shit in real life to real people. He's essentially a 41-year-old sex pest who has a horrifying obsession with young women who are like 18 to 25. He literally roams the streets of Washington as a homeless dude looking for young girls to have sex with. That's his entire life goal, and he will do the creepiest, most serial killer-esque things to get these girls' attention. Things like leaving cookies and notes for them at their desk when they're away from their desk for a while. He also puts up posters around various cities with his name and face and contact info for any young girls if they're interested. He also got kicked out of a Starbucks recently for asking a 16-year-old girl out on a date. Lucas gets catfished a lot because he's a sex pest and he's constantly trying to have sex with literally any young woman he can find. Here's a message he sent to one of his catfish lovers. Someone has a strong opinion. Anal sex. I tried not thinking about your pew yesterday, baby, but before you know it, there was cum all over the floor, and I was breathing like I had just sprinted a mile. I'm going your pussy like a bowl of soft-serve ice cream without a spoon. Okay, you know what, that's enough of that. Overall, Lucas Werner is a horrible person, and he really creeps me out. Number 2, Chris Chan. You probably thought this was going to be number 1, and I can definitely see why, but Chris really isn't the worst lolcow in the grand scheme of things. He's bad, but he's certainly not as bad as a few other lolcows I didn't include on this list for various reasons. There's really not a lot I can say about Chris that I haven't already said a million times. He's a sexual predator towards his own mother, he's obese, he eats McDonald's up to 13 times a week, he poops his pants and also pierced his taint to have a fake female organ. Chris Chan is absolutely despicable in every way, shape, and form. He's the most recognizable and famous lolcow of all time, so like I said, not much to say that hasn't already been said about this very sad individual. Unfortunately, in the wrath of Chris's internet presence, the people in his life have suffered immensely, mainly from being associated with such degenerate debauchery. In fact, there's quite a bit of drawn pornography of the people in Chris's life online due to Chris leaking his own drawings. I don't want to discuss this person any longer, and I don't wish to be associated with them. Number 1, Isabella Janke. I cannot show you this woman's face because she will try and strike the video, so I have to censor it, unfortunately. This is by far the creepiest lolcow I've ever seen in my entire life. In fact, there are a lot of parallels between this lolcow and murderer Luca Magnotta. Isabella Loretta Janke, age 20, is a woman from Texas who a few months ago was found to be the mastermind behind Chris Chan getting arrested. After further investigation, it was found that Isabella left behind a gigantic breadcrumb trail of degeneracy on Discord. Things like putting hamsters in a pot of boiling water, abusing a dog to death, and farting on her cat's face. Among the breadcrumb trail was a plan to make Chris Chan commit suicide by guilting him with the fact that he had been sleeping with his mother by Bella's request. Bella Janke is one of the most despicable lolcows I've ever seen, and I seriously hope she gets legal consequences someday in the future from some of her actions. She has gotten scholastic consequences, as she was suspended from Texas Tech for 2 years, which is well deserved. Isabella Janke, if you're watching this, congratulations, you've made it to number 1 on my list. You're a celebrity, alright, but you're the worst celebrity literally ever. I'd rather huff glue with Andy Dick than even look at a picture of your face, you disgust me that much. Your abuse of animals is the worst thing I've ever seen, and that's saying a lot. You're literally one of the most abhorrent human beings I've ever heard of in my life, and I sincerely hope you pay for your actions someday. That's the end of this list. Now, this list doesn't cover all lolcows or anything, not even close. In fact, there are actually a few people way worse than Isabella Janke who I cannot show you, unfortunately, because they're mostly private citizens, and that would be doxing. But yes, I hope you all enjoyed this depraved deep dive into a world that not many people know or care about. The world is a strange place, and inside it are many colorful crevices you may have never even considered exploring, but I urge you to do so. You never know what you might find.